Hello! As you can see, this is a build based on the 4 Immortal Sisters challenge. It was actually originally one that I had uploaded in 2 parts, and they were each between 20 and 30 minutes long, but I just thought that was too much and it was really boring, so I deleted the old videos and now I am redoing it in something that I have cut down to make it a bit more watchable, hopefully. So basically the idea that I had for this build was to make, instead of having 4 individual houses on one lot like the challenge describes, I imagined having one big house with sort of a central atrium kind of area that connects all the living quarters of the 4 different sisters, and they all sort of have different aspects of life that they're supposed to focus on. Like the water sister is supposed to take care of the kids and she has the kitchen, and I did build this long before we had the glass roofs available in Sims 4, so I kind of just made my own impromptu glass roof with those little glass structures from Get Together. I think they're supposed to be roof pieces. I'm not entirely sure. Or like little skylights, I guess. But that's how I used them. But anyways, yeah, this was something that I was really excited to do. I love the idea of the challenge because I'm really into supernatural kind of themes. And I made all the sisters aliens, and I tried to kind of have them, their human disguise / form was a bit more bright, and I don't know, I tried to use lighter, brighter colors on their human forms, and on the true alien forms I tried to go a bit darker because I don't know, I thought it would be kind of representative of the darker side of their immortal nature versus the sort of character that they're trying to portray to lure people in. Because if you don't know or aren't familiar with the challenge, basically the goal is to have these 4 sisters repopulate the town by luring people in and feeding them to cow plants so they can drink the serum to retain their youth while they kill everyone off and repopulate the town with their offspring. So there are obviously some dark themes here, and originally I had kind of imagined doing the same thing with the house, where the outside of it is very light and airy and bright, and then the inside would be kind of darker, more ominous, more foreboding. But that didn't really work out just with the colors I had available, because of course you can't choose your own colors in The Sims 4. You're kind of subjected to work with whatever color swatches are available for each individual item. But I actually didn't mind as much as I thought I would, because it gave me the opportunity to experiment with a lot of different styles and items that weren't necessarily what I had originally envisioned, but it kind of got me to go outside my comfort zone a bit and try different kind of themes that I wasn't sort of naturally inclined to incorporate. And I actually, at the end of it, I think it really helped to give each sister their own unique personality, and have that reflected in each of their rooms or areas. And what I'm building here is that my original idea was to have the cow plants right in the front entrance, and of course this was silly because you can probably already tell that there's not going to be enough room for them. So I actually added a basement, little dungeon-esque kind of area where I put the cow plants, but I did keep this sort of little garden in the center because that was something that I pictured and I wanted to keep it, even if you can't really do anything with it. And I put the gate there because I wanted it to be easy just to lock people in with the cow plants, so you don't have to go through the trouble of having to add them to the family or to build a wall around them. I wanted it to be just set up and ready to go, which sounds really dark because we're sort of committing murders here. But let's not think about that. Yeah, it was... Oh, and I kind of skipped a lot of the outside or exterior design of the house just because it took so long. When I build, I experiment with a million things until I finally settle on something that feels right. Which is kind of like, this was one of the builds that I remember having the clearest idea. I even sketched it out on a piece of paper beforehand because I knew I had a relatively clear idea of what I wanted. And which is rare for me. Usually I have like the sort of imaginary version of what I want, the sort of the fantasy, but not the concrete plan for what exactly I'm gonna have it look like. But this one was actually a lot more structured than most of my builds. I knew exactly what the different rooms were gonna be, and I think just the nature of the challenge itself helped a lot with that, because when I read about it and I read that, everything that's supposed to be in each sister's area is sort of laid out in the challenge rules, which I will link. But just reading that really gave me the inspiration, of course. Well, that's kind of obvious, but it was one of those things where I just had this vision of exactly what I wanted after, reading the general description. And I just had this idea of how I could make it my own. So one thing that I had imagined for this was to kind of have two of the sisters, well, everyone would have an area on the main floor, and then two of them would have second story bedrooms or living quarters, and then two of them would have areas in the basement. So I wanted to have this pool that sort of wrapped around the side of the house, and then there were windows in it sort of looking into the water sister's bedroom. And then at the same time, on the other side of the house, there's sort of this sunken garden area for the earth sister to do all her gardening, because that is one of her sort of roles in the family, and her bedroom sort of stepping out into that. And of course, I struggled with the kitchen a bit. I always struggle with the kitchen. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a big kitchen design person. So that was interesting to do. Of course, it was harder for me to try to make a really big kitchen. That was something that, I don't know, it just works for me in concept, but when it comes to actually building it, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I hope it's all right. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about this room. I remember it felt like I spent forever on it, honestly. It just, I think you can kind of tell by the footage that I'm struggling a bit with how to place these cabinets. I don't really know entirely what I was thinking, but I did cut some of it out because it was just pure chaos, really. But yeah, what am I saying? The rules for the water sister was that she was supposed to be the caretaker of the family. She was supposed to have the kitchen area in her house. So I tried to like sort of incorporate some water themes as well, with the little fountain. And I of course wanted to give them each a color scheme that was sort of representative of their individual elements. So blue for water, red for fire, and so on. Oh, another thing I should mention is that at the end of this video, I did take some screenshots. I went back to take some screenshots of the house as it currently is. So if there are kind of some design or discrepancies in the detail between the different pictures of the house that I show you at the end, that would be the reason why. I sort of changed some things around when I actually started playing with the family just to sort of optimize it, and you know, like reposition some objects so that they were actually usable. So yeah, you'll kind of see some of the initial screenshots from after, or from the design phase, and then you'll notice some differences when I get to actually how the house changed after I played with it. This one, this is actually kind of interesting because I had originally envisioned a more modern room for the, or not modern, but more sort of antique kind of room, more traditional stylization for the fire sister, but with the items that I had available, I ended up going for a more sort of modern, very playful, I would say, kind of a theme, which I think worked out well for her personality. Like I mentioned before, I think all of the individual personalities of the sisters, I felt like really shone through in the builds or the decor. And I think that was especially true for the water and the fire sisters. So I just put that poster on the wall as sort of a placeholder because they weren't supposed to have any luxuries to start out with. You were supposed to earn that, which is kind of a moot point at this point because I added so many things, and just for the sake of stylizing the house, but they can earn a TV later. And of course, when I started playing with this family, they could not afford the bills, so the power and water were shut off for several days, which was fun. But I didn't cheat, so yeah. The TV is really the only thing that they don't have. Everything else kind of just ended up in the build for the sake of just setting the scene and having decorations so it feels lived in, and it feels like each area has an individual style that reflects each person. And this was actually kind of a cool room because, or for me at least, because it wasn't the type of thing that I would have been instantly inclined to build for myself. But then when I sort of started experimenting with the different items and seeing what worked, it really started to come together, and I really started to get a feel for who the Fire Sister was. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but it really sort of took on a life of its own. So it was quite interesting for me to work on that room. And the same thing sort of happened in the Water Sisters area, but the opposite. And maybe I'll get into that later. Oh, and something I just remembered. I forgot to put stairs in her area so she could access her bedroom, but it actually worked out because I had no idea what to put on that wall, and at the end I realized that that made it the perfect place to put a staircase, so I guess it was meant to be. Now for the Air Sisters area, I just kind of tried to keep it, I mostly used whites. I tried to keep it very bright and airy. And she is supposed to be kind of the keeper of knowledge in the family. She is very smart. Her role is to tutor the children and help them with their homework, and she has kind of like a study. I'm not sure exactly, I don't remember precisely which items it said for her to have. It's been a while since I actually looked at the challenge itself, but of course I will link it in the description if I haven't, or I'm not sure, I don't even remember if I mentioned that or not. But her area kind of turned out to be the plainest, but that's okay. I think since her element is air, I wanted it to be very bright and open. And then for the Earth Sister, she is the gardener, but she also is into fitness, and she helps the kids with physical skills. So she has, I guess, like children's play equipment as well down in her little garden. This was kind of a fun area for me to do as well. I really liked incorporating all the plants. I almost wish I'd done more with it now that I'm looking back, but I didn't have that many expansions and stuff packs at the time, so at the same time there wasn't as much I could have done, but I still could have done more if you know what I mean. Oh, speaking of this challenge, I think one of the things that really interested me about it was the supernatural aspect. I know there are some people who like doing more traditional families in The Sims and like to stick to the more realistic aspects of the game, but for me, I love supernatural things. I love different creatures and beings and different life states. I love the occult Sims, so I had a lot of fun with this, and it's just, that stuff is the thing, or the stuff that really interests me. My favorite expansion of all time was Making Magic to this day, just in terms of the play value I got out of it, in terms of what it added to the game. I loved Magic Town, I loved the carnival theme, I loved all the charms you could make. Of course, I was in love with the magic theme. I love the baby dragons, just everything in that pack was so good. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but out of all the Sims expansions, out of all the Sims games, Making Magic, in my opinion, was the best. And I'm really hoping that this upcoming expansion I think it's called Realm of Magic, and we don't really know that much about it, but just based on the title, it reminds me of The Sims making magic in Magic Town, so I really hope that it pays tribute to that, because that would make me so happy. Although I am a bit disappointed that it is a game pack and not a full expansion. I think we deserved a full expansion for Magic. But it makes me sad, but at the same time, it's okay. I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait till it comes out. I'm very conflicted about how I feel about it being just a game pack. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope the title Realm of Magic makes me think that there will possibly be a new neighborhood or area, which I'm really excited for. This is off topic. I'm sorry. I'm doing so much in the build, but I'm getting sidetracked because I'm so excited about this expansion or game pack. I'll probably actually pre-order it. I don't usually pre-order packs. The only pack I pre-ordered so far was Cats and Dogs, but if they do a pre-order for this one, I will probably pre-order that as well, because pets and magic are the two things I get most excited for when it comes to Sims expansions. And maybe I'm an outlier, I don't know, but I'm just really happy that we're going to be getting a pack that's fully devoted to magic. I would love if they brought back the carnival theme and the roller coasters, but that kind of seems like it would be a lot to ask. That would be a lot of items for simply a game pack. And I also kind of wonder if they're running out of colors to make the expansion packs. How many more are we gonna get if they're each supposed to have a unique color designated to them? I don't know. That's just kind of something I've been thinking about. How many do we have now? 7 or 8? And I think that's the same number as there were expansions for the original Sims game. So I'm kind of like, I would love to see the Sims 5, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not finished with The Sims 4 yet. And I know a lot of people don't like The Sims 4 because it removed a lot of elements that The Sims 3 had, and it's objectively, debatably not as good of a game, and I totally agree with that, but I love The Sims 4 a lot more just for my personal play style. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun in The Sims 4, to be honest. And I'm sorry, I just completely went on a tangent and skipped over all of the stuff that I did downstairs in the Water Sisters room. That I actually had a lot of fun designing the kids area and sort of trying to tie in the children's playthings with the more ornate stylings of her area. I thought that bed with the seashell on it worked really well for her. This was another very different and funky room. I don't know when else I would ever use that wallpaper, but I did it here, and yeah, this was very wacky, this room. It was unlike anything I had ever built before, or probably will ever build again. I really just went in and started adding items in the sort of red, orange, yellow, fire color scheme, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it turned out very different and very fun, I thought. And I forgot to mention, I said before that this was kind of the opposite of what happened with the Water Sisters area, and by that I mean I don't know, I may have mentioned this before, but I kind of imagined her having a more sort of modern, her living quarters being more modern because of the windows in the pool. I thought that was a very modern idea, but then when I started using items, the more modern items were not necessarily what spoke to me. Oh yeah, and there is the basement that I added for the cow plants, and I ended up changing it again. So this is not how it's gonna look in the end. I had a lot of fun adding kid stuff to the water sister's room, like I said before I went on my tangent. I made the bunk beds, but I don't think you can actually use them. In one of the updates, they got broken, so those don't work, unfortunately. I think you might still be able to use the bottom bunks, though. I don't remember precisely. So yeah, there's a little balcony area that connects the water and fire sisters' rooms. There's closets in, I think, the fire sister was the only sister who got a closet, but at the same time, she's the one who was supposed to make the babies, so I wanted a lot of woohoo areas, and I feel, oh my god. Just, I don't know why I'm so immature giggling about that, but yeah. Oh, and yeah, I actually completely forgot that I did this. Yeah, so you're gonna see that the house will look a bit different in the following screenshots. Another thing was to add the different colored curtains over each, sort of as a demarcation for each of their areas. And I will stop talking now and just let you look. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye!